Everyone tells you that your financial problems are financial problems. They tell you the answer is in the budget, in the investment account, in the side income, in the negotiation for the raise. I am going to show you today that this belief, this very reasonable, very widely held belief, is exactly why so many people work for decades and never actually break through. The room where you sleep is not a bedroom. The table where you eat is not furniture. The space where money is counted, where decisions are made, where the family gathers, these are not neutral containers. They are active participants in your financial life. And the Jewish tradition has understood this for over 3,000 years. My name is Rabbi Naomi, and I have spent 37 years inside the texts of Jewish wisdom, the Talmud, the Kabbalah, the teachings of the sages passed down through generations of families who preserved not just their faith, but their financial resilience through conditions that destroyed everyone around them. What I am going to share with you today is the specific sequence in which certain Jewish families have always organized their homes, and why that sequence maps directly onto the structure of financial flow, financial protection, and generational wealth. This is not about interior design. This is not about tidiness for its own sake. This is about the architecture of a home as a spiritual and financial instrument. When you understand what each room represents in the tradition's framework, you will never look at your living space the same way again. And I need you to stay with me through all 5 rooms. Do not skip ahead. They build on each other. The 5th room is the most powerful of all, and if you leave before we reach it, you will have 4 pieces of a 5-piece system, and 4 pieces of a 5-piece system does not work. The knowledge is only useful when it is complete. Before we go any further, type the words, "My home is my vessel," in the comments right now. Write that before we move on. A vessel is only useful when it is prepared to receive. When you write those words, you are declaring your intention to treat your home not as a passive backdrop to your life, but as an active instrument in it. I read every comment. I am looking for the names of the people who make that declaration. Write it now. The number 5 carries specific weight in the Jewish tradition. It is the number of the Hebrew letter He, which appears twice in the divine name, and which the Kabbalistic masters associated with the principle of expression, of what pours outward from the source into the world. 5 is the number of fingers on a hand, the instrument of both giving and receiving. In the tradition, the home contains 5 primary spaces, and each one governs a different dimension of the household's relationship to abundance. When all 5 are correctly ordered, the home functions as a unified instrument. When even one is disordered, the dissonance affects the whole. We are going through each one today. Do not skip ahead. These build on each other. The first room is the entrance. In Hebrew, the petach, the opening, the threshold. And I want you to understand immediately why the tradition places this first, because it is not obvious. Most people, when they think about organizing their homes for prosperity, think about the office or the kitchen or the space where financial decisions happen. The entrance feels almost too basic, too ordinary. But the sages understood something that modern psychology has now begun to document independently. The first impression a space makes on you as you cross its threshold determines the emotional and energetic state you carry into everything that follows. What is the first thing that greets you when you walk through your front door? If the answer is clutter, shoes, bags, mail, objects without homes piled against the wall, then the first signal your home sends to your nervous system every single time you arrive is one of overwhelm, of disorder, of things unresolved. And a nervous system in a state of overwhelm does not make good financial decisions. It defers, it avoids, it numbs. The ancient teachers encoded this understanding into the mezuzah, the small parchment scroll placed on the doorpost of every Jewish home, in a slanted position that the sages specified carefully, pointing inward and downward, directing blessing into the household. The mezuzah is not decoration. It is a threshold marker. It says, something changes here. What is inside this door is different from what is outside it. When you cross this threshold, you are entering a consecrated space. But the mezuzah can only do its full work when the threshold itself is honored. A cluttered entrance with a mezuzah is like a gate with a broken hinge. The sign is there, but the passage does not function correctly. The instruction for the first room is specific. Clear the entrance completely. Every object that lives in or near the entrance must have a designated place. No pile of mail, no abandoned shoes creating a maze, no bags dropped and left. The entrance must be able to breathe. When you stand at your front door and open it, what greets you should create a single clear signal. This is a home that knows what it is. When the entrance breathes, what enters the home, energy, opportunity, the people who carry it, finds a clear path in. The second room is the kitchen, the makom ochel, the place of eating, but more precisely in the tradition, the place of transformation. Raw becomes cooked. Separate ingredients become a unified meal. This is the room where potential becomes actual, and the Kabbalistic masters were very specific about what that means for financial energy. The kitchen is the alchemical chamber of the household, and the tradition's instruction for this room is not about cleanliness in the domestic sense. It is about order as a statement of intention. Every vessel in the kitchen must know its place. The ancient teachers spoke about this in terms of kavod hakelim, the dignity of vessels. A vessel that is treated with dignity retains its capacity. A vessel that is stacked carelessly, crammed into a cabinet without thought, left unwashed, used for purposes other than its designation, that vessel's capacity degrades. And the kitchen is full of vessels. What the tradition is encoding here is a principle that operates at every level of your financial life. How you treat the instruments of provision determines what they are able to provide. I worked for several years with a family, both parents in their 40s, 2 small businesses between them, persistent financial strain despite real effort. When I visited their home for the first time, the kitchen was the first thing I noticed. It was not dirty, but it was disordered in a very specific way. Nothing had a clear home. Pots were stacked in configurations that required unpacking half the cabinet to reach what was needed. The counter held objects that were not kitchen objects: paperwork, a child's school bag, a broken item waiting to be repaired. The kitchen was performing 6 functions simultaneously and performing none of them well. We spent one afternoon establishing the dignity of the vessels. Everything that did not belong to the kitchen left the kitchen. Everything that belonged to the kitchen found a place that honored its function. Within 3 weeks, the woman told me that she had begun cooking meals she had stopped cooking years ago. Not because she had more time, but because the kitchen felt like a place where something real could happen. That shift in her relationship to the space carried directly into how she thought about her business. She told me, "If I can create order here, I can create order there." Within 2 months, she had restructured a core element of her business process that had been quietly leaking revenue for over a year. The kitchen is where transformation happens. When it is ordered, you practice transformation daily. That practice compounds. The third room is the room of rest, the bedroom, Cheder Hashina. And this one surprises people more than any other, because rest does not feel like a financial subject. But the tradition's understanding of sleep is deeply financial. In the Talmud, sleep is described as 1/60th of death, a partial departure of the soul from the body, a nightly reset of the vessel. What the soul returns to in the morning is shaped by what it rested in during the night. The bedroom is not passive. It is actively preparing you every night for the day that follows. And the tradition's instruction for the bedroom has 2 specific elements that most people violate without knowing it. The first, no financial objects in the bedroom, no bills, no account statements, no laptop open to financial spreadsheets, no business papers on the nightstand. This is not merely practical sleep hygiene. The ancient teachers understood that financial anxiety carried into the sleep space contaminates the quality of the reset. When your soul departs each night from a space saturated with unresolved financial pressure, it does not rest fully. It circles the unresolved. And what does not rest fully does not return fully renewed. The bedroom must be a financial sanctuary, a space where the financial dimension of life is not present. The second instruction is perhaps stranger to modern ears. The bed must be made each morning before any other activity in the room begins. The sages connected this to the principle of Kiddush, consecration, the act of setting something apart as having specific significance. When you make the bed immediately upon rising, you are consecrating the space. You are saying, this room has been in one mode. It is now transitioning to another. The transition is deliberate. It is marked. A room that transitions deliberately carries that quality of deliberateness into the person who inhabits it. People who consecrate their rest space in the morning make more deliberate decisions throughout the day, financial decisions included. Remove the financial material from your bedroom tonight. Make the bed tomorrow before the phone, before the coffee, before anything else. These are the 2 instructions for the third room. They are simple. They are not small. The fourth room is what I will call the room of counsel. In most homes today, this is the living room or study, the space where decisions are made, where conversations happen, where the family sits together, and where guests are received. In the tradition, this is called the Cheder Hashiva, the room of sitting, the room of consideration. And the tradition has a very specific teaching about this room that I want you to hear carefully. The sages said that the quality of what is decided in a home is shaped by what fills the room where the decisions are made. This is not metaphor. Modern environmental psychology has documented extensively that cluttered, visually noisy environments produce worse decisions, more impulsive, less considered, more prone to the cognitive shortcuts that lead to regret. The tradition understood this thousands of years before the research. The instruction for the room of counsel is this: it must contain only what belongs. Every object in this room must have passed a specific test. Is this something I have chosen to have here, or something that drifted here and remained through inertia? Most living rooms fail this test badly. They accumulate. Objects arrive and are never actively chosen to stay. The tradition's word for this kind of passive accumulation is chaotic, which is the opposite of the word it uses for a deliberate household, a home of intention. Go through the room of counsel with a specific question for every object. Did I place this here with intention, or did it simply end up here? Everything that arrived through inertia rather than choice leaves the room. What remains should be things that you looked at and actively decided belong in the space where your family thinks, speaks, and decides. When the room of counsel contains only chosen things, the quality of what is decided there changes. This is where your financial decisions are made. It deserves that level of intentionality. The fifth room, and I told you I was saving the most important for last, and I meant it, is the room that most people forget entirely when they think about organizing for abundance. It is the smallest room in most homes. It is the room that is entered briefly and exited quickly, and almost never considered in the context of financial or spiritual significance. It is the storage space, the pantry, the utility room, the cupboard under the stairs, the space where things are kept that are not in active use. In Hebrew, the tradition calls this the Otsar, which means precisely the treasury, and the name is the teaching. The treasury is not where wealth is displayed. The treasury is where it is held between uses. It is the space of latency, of potential that has not yet been expressed. And the sages were extraordinarily specific about the treasury. They said, "A disordered treasury is a declaration that you do not believe more will come." Think about what that means. When you look at the storage space in your home, the place where things are kept between uses, what does it tell you about your relationship to abundance? Most storage spaces are graveyards. They are filled with broken things kept out of guilt, things that no longer serve, kept out of sentiment, things whose function has expired, but whose departure has been deferred indefinitely. A storage space full of expired things is a physical declaration that the household is holding on. And a household that is holding on cannot receive. The two postures are incompatible. The Otsar must be cleared of everything that is broken beyond use, everything that has expired in its function, everything that is being kept, not because it will be used, but because releasing it feels like admitting scarcity. That last category is the most important. The objects you hold out of fear of having less are the objects most actively preventing you from having more. When the treasury is clear, when it contains only what is in active rotation between use and rest, when it has space in it, literal physical space, it becomes what its name says it is, a treasury, a space that is ready to hold what is coming. And what tends to follow the clearing of the Otsar, in my observation across decades of working with families, is not immediate dramatic change. It is a quiet shift in the household's relationship to receiving. People begin to notice opportunities they were not noticing before, not because the opportunities were not there, but because a household that has made space for what is coming naturally begins to perceive what is coming. The treasury is the last room, clear at last, after the other four. When all 5 rooms are in their correct order, the home functions as a unified instrument of provision, and you will feel the difference within 30 days. So let us name them quickly, because the mind holds what it can name in sequence. The entrance, the threshold that determines what enters and how it is received. The kitchen, the chamber of transformation, where the dignity of vessels governs the quality of what they produce. The bedroom, the sanctuary of rest, where financial anxiety must not sleep, and where the morning consecration sets the deliberateness of the day. The room of counsel, the space of decision, containing only chosen things. And the Otsar, the treasury, the space of latency, cleared of everything expired and opened for what is coming. 5 rooms, 1 instrument. Begin with the entrance this week. Do not try to do all 5 at once. The tradition specifically warns against attempting a wholesale transformation without honoring each stage. 1 room, 1 week. In sequence, by the end of 5 weeks, your home will be a different instrument than it is today. What I have shared with you today is the framework, but a framework without the full teaching is like a floor plan without a house built on it. In the complete work I have developed, 37 years of study and direct work with families across 3 countries, this 5-room framework sits inside a larger architectural teaching about the Jewish home as a financial instrument. The complete teaching covers the specific timing principles for when each room is addressed in the Jewish weekly and annual cycle. The detailed Kabbalistic understanding of why the Otsar is connected directly to the principle of tzedakah, and what happens financially when that connection is honored, and the advanced practices for the room of counsel that the most financially resilient families in the tradition have maintained for generations. The link is in the description. If you are serious about this, not just curious, but willing to do the work, everything you need to take the next step is there. Move while the clarity is present. Do not file this away and return to it when conditions worsen. Let me tell you what to expect in the first week after you begin. Because the most common reason people abandon this work is not that it does not produce results. It is that the first result it produces is discomfort. When you begin clearing the entrance, you will find objects you forgot were there. Behind those objects are feelings, unfinished business, decisions deferred, things that arrived and were never properly dealt with. This is not a metaphor. It is the physical record of every time you chose avoidance over action in the management of your space. That discomfort is not a sign that the process is too hard. It is a sign that the process has begun. The Kabbalistic principle here is that before the vessel can be filled, it must be emptied of what does not belong. The emptying always comes with some grief, for the version of the household you thought you were running, for the things that are genuinely over. Hold the discomfort. Do not fill the emptied space immediately with new things. Give the cleared space 24 hours of being simply clear. This is the window in which the treasury principle begins to operate. Do not close it prematurely by rushing to fill it. The 30 days of patient, sequential work through the 5 rooms is the test of the vessel. Those who hold the process discover on the other side of it a home and a household that operates at a frequency they had forgotten was available to them. What you receive today is ancient, it is specific, and it is yours to use beginning tonight. Tell me in the comments what surprised you most from today's teaching. I will respond to as many as I can. I want to know what landed for you, what shifted, what you are looking at differently now. If you are not subscribed, press the button and turn on the notification bell. Next week, I am going to reveal the specific Friday evening practice that certain Jewish families use to set the financial frequency for the entire week that follows, and why what you do in the hour before Shabbat begins is more financially significant than anything you do in the 40 hours of the work week. Based on where you are right now, you cannot afford to miss that teaching. If today's transmission reached something real in you, If you found yourself thinking about a room in your home during this video, if you already know which room you are starting with, press the like button. That simple action puts this teaching in front of someone else who is sitting right now in a disordered space, wondering why the ceiling will not lift. Become a channel for this wisdom to reach them. May every room of your home become what it was always meant to be. May your entrance welcome what is coming, your kitchen transform what is given, your room of rest restore what is spent, your room of counsel clarify what is decided, and your treasury make space for what is on its way to you. May the order you build in the physical world become a mirror of the order that governs the spiritual world, and may what was sealed in your household begin gently and permanently to open. Shalom.